Alright, so this video is going to be done a little different than I usually do videos. I spoke a while back about a tragedy that happened at the house I used to live at, my actual last home. We moved from there to where we're at now, this big, beautiful house. We worked it out to where my wife's niece ended up moving into the home. Beautiful home. It was supposed to be a dream. This is something exciting, something new, and it didn't end that way. It ended with someone losing their life because of a choice he made. Today, we're going to be doing that story. This is a video that a lot of people need to see. Once you make that decision, there's no going back. You can't undo it. And the moment you decide to do that, you don't only take away your life, you take away a part of a lot of other people's lives. You change the history of everybody that survives. Please be respectful, not only for the guest, but for the people that are no longer here and the people that are involved in tonight's story. I tell you all to live your best life, and I mean that. Life is the most precious thing that you will ever have. It is the most valuable thing. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. Females, men, money, cars, houses, all that stuff, it comes and goes. They're just possessions. You cannot get back a life. Love the one you have. Love the one you have. All right, so this video is a little different than what I usually do. This is more of, it's an awareness along with kind of a testimonial. I guess maybe a tribute to life. As you know it, life is very precious. It's something that I think we take for granted and that can be snatched away very, very quickly. We go through things at times where we feel it's like the end of the world, not realizing that life is just much bigger than we see it as, and how we can do things that affect other people instantly. This is actually my wife's niece, Edwina. I spoke a while back about a tragedy that happened at the house I used to live in. We moved out and she moved in, and she had a roommate. So y'all moved in
March 1st.
March 1st.
Yeah.
And we moved here. We moved here in February.
Yep.
How long had you known David? How did you meet David?
I met him through his cousin Blake, and then I've known him for a year and a half.
Right. Were y'all just friends?
Yeah. Yeah, we became like really, really good friends. He dated my best friend.
So y'all would go out to like bars and just...
We would do everything. We would go to bars. We would go to Busch Gardens. I mean, we did stuff at the house, just hung out at the house. Spent time with Chloe, with my daughter, and then that was really it.
Did he have any kids?
No.
No kids?
No kids.
Who was he? How would you describe him?
He was a really nice guy. He worked his ass off, and he just always had a smile, and he was always willing to help you out, and he was so full of life. Like, there was not a time that I seen him like real upset, unless, we were like in deep conversation about stuff, but he always had a big old smile on his face anytime we seen him.
Where was he staying prior to y'all moving into the house?
Before that, he was living with his cousin.
Okay, so he was looking to get out.
Yeah. He didn't want to live with his cousin. We had discussed, him, and the girlfriend had discussed like moving in together to kind of better our situations, and the house came up, so it kind of was like perfect timing.
Right. So y'all move in, everything's good, y'all are excited. This is supposed to be like a big deal. It's a big, beautiful house. It's a great neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood for your daughter, good schools. It's all old people out there. There's really no crime in that neighborhood, and everything seemed to be going good.
Yeah.
Was he at home a lot?
Sometimes. Like, he worked for Dominion, so he would work like 16-hour days sometimes, and then he would Uber Eats. He was kind of in and out. Sometimes he would be home, sometimes he'd be working like long hours, and he'd work overnight too.
How was he with Chloe? How was he with your daughter?
Great.
She loved him?
Oh yeah. That was like her best friend. I mean, she's best friends with everybody, but she was close with him.
A lot of people say that when these type of things happen, that there's things like there's signs, or that like you kind of seen it in the person. Did you ever think of anything like that with him?
No, I mean, he discussed it before. Like, he had made comments about essentially killing himself, talked about suicide and stuff like that. And he's, tried it before, but I never thought he would act upon it.
Is he sober when he said these things, or drinking? Like, is this just normal conversation, or is this like
Maybe
too much to drink at a bar?
Well, it wouldn't be too much to drink. I mean, there were times where we would have conversations with each other and we would be sitting drinking. There were times where we were sober too. So it was kind of both.
He had a relationship, and like any relationship, it had its ups and downs. I guess we
Yeah.
could agree on.
Yeah.
Him and his girl would go back and forth, and I mean, it's obvious he cared a lot for her. He loved her. That's very, very clear, and thought the world of her.
Oh, yeah.
But he kind of didn't take well to the bad times that they had in their relationship. I guess we could agree on.
Oh, yeah.
Walk me through the day that everything happened. Now, I know that prior to that, they had been arguing, but like starting off that day, he got up that day, went to work?
Yeah, I think he went to work that day. We had a washer that needed to be fixed. It needed some little part, and he had ordered it off of Amazon. He had fixed it. We were like super excited about it, and we gave him a high five after he had fixed it. She had brought me a table that day.
She being his girlfriend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had brought me a little kitchen table. She wasn't the nicest to him that day. I guess they'd been having issues for, weeks before that I didn't really know about. She left. He stayed in the room. I left to go have dinner. Maybe a couple hours had passed, and he had texted me and asked me to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't read the message because I just didn't pay attention to my phone. By the time I got home, it was probably about like 10:30 at night or so. I had noticed he had come home. Let me backtrack. Even before, when I was out at dinner, the girlfriend had messaged me and was talking about, she would be mad if I was out at the bar with him because I guess he went to the bar.
Mm.
And I didn't, he just
Why would she be mad if you were at the bar with him?
I don't know. I don't know.
Y'all are friends.
Right. I don't know.
But she's your friend also, so
yeah.
It's kind of like you're stuck in the middle.
I would, yeah. In that scenario on that day, yeah. Because she asked me where I was, and I showed her a picture, to clarify where I was. And then I guess they were fighting. He went to the bar or whatever, and she was at another bar in like another part of the area of where we live. And I got home, and he got home. It was probably about 10:30, 10:45-ish. I saw him walk in because I was in the kitchen and Chloe was downstairs doing something. But he walked in, got a couple beers, and then went back outside. She had texted me and told me to go check on him. And by this time, maybe 10 minutes had passed. It was like 10:51. So I went and checked on him the first time, and he was upset.
He was in his car?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Listening to music?
Yeah, he went and sat in his car, and he was just sitting there, and he was a little, upset and kind of crying, which was not necessarily a red flag.
Right.
Because him and I have had crying sessions before where, he was sensitive. So I talked to him, checked on him for a second, and he was like talking about it's who cares? Nobody cares. It's not going to matter. And I made a comment to him about people do care. We do care. Like, what about your family? I said, don't do anything stupid. Because I did notice when I first got to the car, which he has a permit to carry, and like it did feel weird when I opened the door that first time. Like, I don't know if it was just the energy
that he had. Did you see the gun on him? You seen him with the gun?
Well, like in the center console, like I guess it's like magnetic, like a holster.
Okay, yeah.
So it was held in there, and it was normal. Like,
that's
where he carried
it in his car, right?
I don't know. The energy was just different, which I didn't really think about it at the time. But after, like weeks after, days after, I thought about it, like it did get weird. I talked to him, and then I was telling him, people care, his family cares, I care.
What was he saying?
He just said that nobody cares, like, what's it going to matter? And then I don't remember in detail exactly it was so fast, but he asked me twice to go inside. So
just kind of like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, he said, leave me. He said, can you please go inside, go be with Chloe. I said, well, if you need to talk to me, I'm here. You can come inside. I'm always here to talk to him, because there's plenty of times before where him and I have had conversations together, and it could be just random. He would call me.
He's your friend.
Yeah, he would just call and talk. So I finally went inside with Chloe. We got some ice cream. I went upstairs. I changed into pajamas and was sitting on the bed. By this time, I think it was after 10:51 because I remember that exact time frame, because by the time she called me, it was barely 11 o'clock. But she called me and kind of was like yelling it to me that he texted her some kind of suicide text and to go check on him. I grabbed my robe real quick. I ran down.
Did you get a feeling when she said that? Did you have a bad feeling? Did panic set in,
Yeah.
or was it like, let me go check on it?
Panic kind of set in because of the way she sounded. Like whatever
She's
had
yelling
read
on the phone,
whatever
screaming.
she had read, like, panicked her, because she was already on the way to the house, and she told me not to tell him that she was coming. And I kind of wish I did. I don't know if we would be in the situation that we're in now. Yeah. So I grabbed my robe, ran down the stairs, and by the time I had got to the car, he had already shot himself.
You didn't hear anything in the house? Nothing? Car muffled the shot?
Mm-hmm.
Get the windows up, music on?
Yep, because she asked the cop, why wouldn't I have heard, the gunshot? And he said that, you'd be surprised at what you can't hear from outside of a car on the inside.
And inside the house as well.
Yeah.
We're upstairs in a big house.
Mm-hmm. We're upstairs. The TV was on. We were talking. He was
in the first driveway.
Yep. He was parked right next to where I park, which is where...
Did you have to physically get up close to see him to know that he had done it, or did you just kind of know before you... before you actually saw what you saw, did you already have that feeling in your stomach like, this is bad? I've been in similar situations. I've dealt with something very similar, and I knew. Yeah. I got a gut sick feeling, sickening in my stomach. Like, I just felt sick to my stomach for days and weeks after. But prior to actually seeing it, I knew. Did you kind of know before you got to the car, or is there still like
it kind of felt it kind of felt weird. Like, when I first had that first conversation with him, like the energy just felt different, and I didn't really like put two and two together. And when I got to the car, like I touched the hood, I walked around to the driver's side and I tapped on the window, and it was very fast. So I ran around to the other side, to the passenger side, and the windows were tinted, so you can't really see but so much. You could see shadow. But I opened the door, and when the car light comes on, that's when I knew it was really bad.
It illuminated everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sitting in the car, slumped over.
Yep, he was slumped over and he was bleeding. To me, it looked like he was bleeding out of his mouth, but he wasn't bleeding out of his mouth. I didn't realize that he had shot himself in the temple. I started screaming, and at this point, it's 11 o'clock at night. And, Chloe is upstairs. I started screaming. I hung the phone up on her. I immediately called 911. And I just was panicking. I was running around the front yard. I didn't have shoes on.
And your daughter's still upstairs? Did she stay upstairs?
She stayed upstairs, but she was opening the window.
She was looking out the window.
She looks out the window. Which kind of freaks me out a little bit. I don't know, what she thinks she saw. And it bothers me because she was like, it took her a week.
Were the front porch lights on at the house?
Uh-huh.
Then she could see in the driveway.
Yep, and you could see because of...
Were you parked closest to the steps, or was he parked?
I do.
Okay.
And he was, on the other side.
And if you opened the car door, did you shut the car door after you opened it, or leave it open?
I shut it. Okay. But based off of where my bedroom windows are, it looks directly down.
Yeah, that was my window. I used to look down and check on my son when he would get home at night.
Yep, you could see right in through the windshield. So she saw, like, the top of his head. You could see his hair. So she knew he was slumped over. So that's something that she saw. And she hears you yelling. She hears me screaming, so she was, like, panic mode.
Who got there first, the girlfriend or the cops?
The cops.
A lot of cops?
Oh, yeah. I think there was at least maybe 10 to 15 cops.
And I know
there.
the neighborhood had never seen anything like that.
No.
That neighborhood, I lived there for years.
It's
and
so
the most
quiet.
you would see there is like quiet. The most you would see was like an ambulance come for like an old person, old people on hospice. Like there was literally zero crime in that neighborhood. So the police show up, and I'm guessing you start walking them through everything that happened. They pull you to the side. You're probably crying.
Yeah.
They're trying to, get you to calm down so you can explain to them what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the girlfriend shows up.
Yeah, she showed up. I don't know where she was exactly, like what vicinity or bar she was at. So it took her a minute to get there. Probably took her, to me, it felt like forever. It was probably only maybe 10 minutes, if that. But it was enough timing for more cops to show up and to not allow her near the car. Nobody was near the car except and saw anything except for me and the police officers.
What happens when she gets there?
She got there, and I think I was inside at this point because I had kept running in and out, checking on Chloe. The officers were checking on Chloe. They were trying to distract her, but she was panicking still. She got there, and they led her all the way around the house by where the garage is because they wouldn't allow her near the car.
Oh, they took her around the opposite side, so she couldn't see the car.
Yep. They took her all the way around.
And she's panicked.
Oh, yeah.
Drinking.
She drank, and I could tell because, like, when she got to the backyard, there's that little patio area, and she just looked at me, and she was like, I don't even know I can't remember what she said to me, but she said something, and then I just, like, kind of ran towards her and just gave her a hug, and she collapsed to the ground and cried and cried and cried. They were both drinking that night, though. She smelled like alcohol. I didn't smell him, but I know he was drinking. Right. Yeah, because when he fixed the washer, he had go-puffed beer, which I still have the beer at the house, which is, it's just sitting there, but they were both drinking. And then I was talking to multiple officers. It wasn't just one, it was a few. But they were talking to her, getting her stories. They were talking to me, getting my stories. They were looking at my phone, to see what she had said to me and who we were talking about, essentially. Why were they fighting? Because they did ask if they were fighting, and I said, yeah, as far as I knew, they were, texting back and forth, and she was mad because he was out, and he's, I guess he didn't respond or didn't say anything.
So she's out, but she doesn't want him out. She was already out, and she wanted him to stay home.
I guess so, yeah, because she was already in Chester, in the area, yeah, it was Chester, so she was already out. And then that's when she was texting me in the later of the evening at like 9 or so.
How long did it take them before they removed him from the car?
I don't know exactly what time he shot himself. I think it was about 11 o'clock. They didn't remove him, which bothered me. They didn't remove him until 2 o'clock in the morning because he sat there for...
That's actually fast.
3 hours.
Really? That's actually fast, yeah.
It bothered me because, like,
y'all were inside and he was just there.
He was just sitting there, and it's just like, my kid is there, and I just...
This is y'all's home. You can't leave. There's nowhere to go. This is home.
Yeah. And I just didn't want him to, like, sit there. I just felt bad, like, even though he was gone.
Just him sitting in the car.
Just him sitting in the car is just terrible.
So they take the body out of there. I'm going to guess you didn't get much sleep that night.
I didn't go to sleep until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wake up the next day, it doesn't feel... Do you, like, go to check to see if this is real?
Yeah. I think I only slept I went to bed at 5 because they didn't leave until like 4 o'clock in the morning.
They left his car in the driveway.
Yeah, they left the car in the driveway, and then they put a white sheet over the seat, which was terrible, but they put a white sheet over the seat. I ended up having, I called friends to come over because I didn't know who to call. I think I called at night, panicking. I didn't know who was going to come over and, like, be with me and Chloe. Chloe ended up getting picked up by her grandma.
Yeah, I was there sitting beside her when you called, and you were crying and freaking out. And I told her, the cops are there. Like, they don't need anybody else there. They've got an active crime scene.
Mm-hmm. Chloe's grandma came to pick her up because her dad wasn't answering the phone. His phone was on Do Not Disturb. But I had tried to go to sleep at 5. And then I got a call at like 5:15 from my dad. My grandpa had passed, which I already knew he was going to pass because he was on hospice. The same day? 10 hours later, yeah, because David passed the 16th of March, and my grandpa passed the 17th of March.
All within 24 hours.
Yep.
So you're still dealing with the aftermath of David killing himself in the driveway, and then you get a call that your grandfather has died.
Yep.
I think we all have a choice in what we do in life. And I think ultimately he chose to do what he did.
Yeah.
We can all say that, certain things play into it. Things can cause us to do things. Do you think that the fighting with her that night is what caused him to do what he did? Do you think this was something he had battled, something that he had been struggling with for a long time,
I think both, maybe.
or
Honest,
that he just had enough of the fight with her and just lights out?
I think it might have been a little bit of both. I think it had to do with like childhood issues that he had dealt with previously, which is, what he spoke about before. And then I think that the way he loved her and the way he loved in general, he loved like all in. So I think that if he thought that he completely lost her, then
That's the end of his world.
what's the point in
Do you
staying
think he
around?
felt that way?
I think so.
Like they were talking about completely splitting up, and
She was, yeah. I
so
mean,
that
she
was
deleted
pretty
him off of social media.
all that night.
Yeah. I think during that day, she completely deleted him off of social media, which I don't think she's ever done before. Um, but I think it was like a combination of
So
all of
he
it.
took it as if she's gone. I've lost her.
Hmm. I think it was a combination of life and whatever he struggled with as a child. And then I don't think that drinking helped.
Absolutely not. I know that you've talked to his girls since then. Does she blame herself?
She does. She's felt
It's
guilty.
a lot to live with, I can imagine. And I spoke about in the past video, like it is
Hmm.
what it is. They had a rocky relationship. They loved each other, but like you said, he loved and he loved deep. And
Oh,
and
yeah.
men and women that do that, sometimes they give their all. They give more of themselves than they should. They lose themselves in a relationship and get so committed that they can't see anything without that. Do you feel like there's anything you could have done that night, looking back on it?
I don't know. I've battled with that daily. I think about it all the time. Like when I'm by myself, especially and I'm by myself a lot, other than when I'm here with you guys or, when I'm with my kid. But I think about it a lot. Like I look back at our text messages from that week, and I know he was struggling that week, like with her, but I don't know if that was like my red flag. Like, is there something I could have said or
But that was
something?
normal.
Yeah, it was
It
normal.
was
So it
his
wasn't
normal life.
necessarily like something that was like, oh, hey, you need to really keep a tab on him. But I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that I could have done. I don't know if he like concocted this plan for a long time. I know that his grandmother had said that he had come out to her house on the 11th of March, and it just felt weird too.
Kind of like a goodbye,
It was like
like a
5 days
check-in on her.
before. Yeah, because he would go there, get his mail, check on the family and stuff like that, and spend time with them. She did say that, it felt weird. It was different. And
Like a goodbye.
yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I think about it a lot. Like, I even thought that night, like, when I saw the gun, like, should I have taken it out of the car? But what if I would have, tried to reach for it and then he would have done something to
He's not in
me?
his right state of mind. Your job as a
Yeah,
mother is to keep you and your child safe. I mean, you want to be a good friend, but when somebody's been drinking, they have a firearm, and they're
yeah,
not in their right state of mind, the last thing you want to do is try to get in between them and whatever they're planning on doing. He planned on getting married.
yeah. We had talked about that quite often.
Did he ever propose, get a ring?
He got a ring.
Did she get the ring?
He left it for her. He left it for her in the room. He told her where to find it.
So ring
Texted
is.
her. He said, "Here's where your ring is." And she went, when she got there, it took some time, but, eventually she found the ring. We had all planned a trip to go to Disney World. It was me, her, the girlfriend, my daughter, and him. And he was going to propose there. And that trip was supposed to happen in, I think, around this time frame.
How has it been since then?
Shitty, horrible. I lost my job. I don't really talk to her.
How is the house? Is it still the dream that it once was, or is it
No,
just a constant reminder of the bad?
it's a constant reminder. I had to get everything out of the house that was his.
That his family came and got it?
Yeah, his family came that weekend and picked all of his belongings up, except for a couple things that she had wanted for herself.
And she was coming to the house and sleeping in the bed, right? After
She did come one time and stayed at the house.
in his bed.
Yeah, I left her alone. I checked on her, but
She's upset.
I left her, to, I guess, process herself in his own room.
One of the craziest parts is he had a life insurance policy that he left to her.
Yep.
Being the person that, and like I said, I don't want to blame her.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, she didn't have a gun.
Right.
She didn't put a gun in his hand. She didn't tell him to do what he did. It was a choice he made. But you can't take out the fact that there were things that took place that night, things that were said.
Yep.
That had they not been said,
we wouldn't be in the
we
situation.
wouldn't be in the situations. Come to find out later that he had a life insurance policy and he didn't have any beneficiaries. He left it to her.
Yep.
So ironically enough, that then puts her in a position of, she comes into all this money and puts you and your daughter in the position of, I don't have the person that pays the other half of the bills.
Yep. And she doesn't just get life insurance, which he was with his job for, I thought it was, about 2 years. Come to find out, it's actually 3 years. So I think that it falls out of the guidelines where life insurance wouldn't cover because it was suicide.
That's what I was wondering. With suicide, a lot of times that voids any type of life insurance policy.
It's supposed to be within the first 2 years. But if he was there for 3 years, like he was, then she will get the life insurance. And she is getting his 401k. She's getting a month's worth of his paycheck. She's getting his PTO as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he was the guy that paid half the rent, half
of
the
bills.
Utilities, half of everything. And I know, like, it's a very expensive house. Just in living there, the electric there sometimes can be $600 to $800 a month. You know what I mean? Like, so he's gone now, and she stands to, I don't want to say make all this money, but inherit all this money that belonged to him. And it leaves y'all in a situation to where you're possibly going to lose everything.
Yep. I lost my job already.
How did you end up losing your job?
I took 3 days off of work.
To mourn.
Yeah.
And you had your grandfather.
So it was Friday the 17th I took off. And then I took off the 20th, which was that Monday. And then the 21st, which was Tuesday.
When was your grandfather's funeral?
His funeral was the 30th of March.
So they waited a minute.
Yeah, they waited until, because of the holidays that were coming up for Catholics, because I was raised Catholic, but the holidays that were coming up, they waited to cremate him. I took those 3 days off, including the weekend, but it was just, the weekdays that I took off. I had called my boss and let him know I had his mother cover for me. He kind of lost his shit on me, told me that no company would give someone 3 days off for the death of a non-relative.
Boss is a dickhead. He's a douchebag.
He's a piece of shit.
That's terrible. That's heinous. Like, somebody, you just saw a friend of yours dead in their car, killed himself at the house. Bleeding
out of his head.
3 days off is a reason to fire somebody. That's just too much time.
Yep. And he told me that wasn't, I wasn't allowed to essentially do that no company would ever give me that.
You're right. They'd probably give you a week.
Exactly. So,
or said take as much time as you need.
Right. So I was going to go back that Wednesday, but him and I had argued through text about, he didn't have to worry about covering anything. He didn't have to worry about anything at the office because it was all taken care of because he was in Miami.
What is this?
Roselawn Memory Gardens. At the cemetery.
That's where it is?
At the cemetery,
That's where my dad's buried.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
I get it. He works at a cemetery. He deals with death all the time. So he doesn't see.
And that was his response. Okay. He was like, well.
It makes a little more sense.
His response was,
still insensitive.
You're in this industry. You kind of just, you have to move on. It is what it is.
I haven't been doing this my whole fucking life. You have, not me.
Right. And not only that, but under the circumstances, you would think that you would at least have off for a few days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't take off, for a whole week. I made it a point to come back at a certain time, gonna go back to work. But he fired me and he asked me to come back. So I went back for 4 days. I went back for 4 days. And then I had a flight to New Mexico on the 29th. And I touched down in New Mexico that about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. He had called me, was blowing me up, had me in group chats with the groundsman that we had, a group chat with his mom, about stuff that was going on in the office that he never knew about because he was never there. Because it was always taken care of on our end.
So he had to be there. Now he's finding out more about
so
work.
Now he's finding out about real work.
Like you have to actually do work.
Right. So all these messages are going
on. You're trying to attend your grandfather's funeral.
I'm going through all these emotions.
You haven't seen.
Yep. And I hadn't even gotten the rental car, and he had already fired me again for the second time. And then the following day was when my grandpa's funeral was.
How are things now?
Horrible. Chloe goes to therapy, which...
Your daughter's in therapy?
Yep. She has to see a therapist, and she struggles. She struggles going home. Which
she cared about him.
Yeah.
Like he had been around for a while. He was a friend. And it makes you feel safe. You know what I mean? You're a woman. She's a little girl. And there's a man in the house. Yeah. You know?
He made her
nice
feel comfortable.
To her mom.
And that's what bothers me is like...
her loss.
Yeah. Because she struggles at night. Like she is so nervous about going home. She looks out the window. And sometimes I feel like a bad mom. Like, I have to help her.
It's a lot for a child to deal with.
Yeah, she's only 13.
Kids learn about death early on, but to actually be staring out the upstairs window and knowing that someone she cares about, someone she loves, someone that she's talked to a million times that lives with her is sitting in the car dead.
Yep.
And there's a lot for a child to process.
Officers had to sit there and tell her that he's dead. And it's like, how do you... In the midst of all that chaos, like... She was so worried about me, and
she's concerned about you, and very nosy.
She is nosy.
So she wants to know what's going on.
And that's what she told me. It took her some time to tell me that. I think it's because she's so overly sensitive, so much emotion. It took her time to tell me that. I did look out the window, and I did see David like hunched over, and that bothers me.
It's an image she'll never forget. It's an image you'll never forget. It's an image that when you close your eyes, 20 years from now, you'll see it as fresh as you did the night you opened the door. It doesn't. I'd like to say it goes away. It doesn't.
No. I didn't stay in the house alone until we got back from New Mexico. That first whole week and a half after that had happened, I had somebody stay with me every single night. I did not stay alone until someone is there with me. And I finally have stayed alone, but I lock myself in the room. Right. I don't go downstairs at night. So
if there was anything you could say to somebody that's struggling with those type of thoughts or thinking of suicide, being someone that was left to clean up the mess, because that's essentially what happened. What he chose to do that night, he left for you and your daughter to clean up. Yep. He didn't see the outcome of it. He didn't see her in the window. He wasn't physically there to see the mess that he fucking left. Mm-hmm. Like in this moment of irrational thinking and irrational decision making, he left an entire mess that will affect you guys the rest of your lives. It'll affect you in one way or another forever. It will forever be a memory that your daughter has in her head. Yep. What would you say to anybody that has those type of thoughts or that's thinking of suicide?
Talk to somebody. People have to talk to somebody, whether they want to or not. I mean, even call like the Suicide Hotline or somebody. Call anybody. Talk to someone, because I feel like if he would have talked to me more, or maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. Talk to someone, then it might help.
What are you doing as far as your mental health goes? What are you doing to cope with the situation?
I haven't done anything yet.
I guess a lot of times as adults, we're just like, I'm grown. I just deal with it like I do everything else.
I've kind of had
You're not
to...
taking it well.
No.
You haven't taken it well at all from what I'm being told.
Nope. I don't really care to drink because I never really drank as much before anyways, but I kind of have to set my sad times to the side because I have to try and find a job. Right. Like I have to take care of bills that I'm behind on.
Like you don't have time to
sit
around sulking.
I can sulk for a little bit and I have to keep pushing on. I have to look for a job. I look for a job all day, every day.
Well, I'm gonna link her Cash App and her information. For you people out there that have more than you need, more than than most, help someone. Like this isn't someone that's down and out because they don't get up and go to work. You heard the situation. Not only did she lose a friend, someone she was close to, this is something that impacted their family, their lives on a major level is something that has left them in a position now to where they're financially they're hurt, they're struggling. You deal with the loss of the loved one, and then you've got to deal with what comes after. I've said in the past, I think suicide is selfish, and people have argued with me. They're like, you can't say that, because for people that commit suicide, they feel they're a burden on the world. They feel that they're releasing the world of dealing with them, I guess, if that makes sense. But that's not the case. The case is you will be missed.
Oh yeah.
If you live under a bridge, you sleep in your car, you haven't talked to your family and friends in years, you're going to be missed. Somebody cares about you. People do love you. Get help. Talk to someone. Understand that once you do it, you can't undo it. I've told people I don't think a lot of times that people even fully go through with it. I think they place the gun there, they think about it, and they apply the smallest amount of pressure. And before they even know what they've done, it's lights out. If you or anybody you know or care about needs help, please reach out to the National Suicide Hotline. Talk to a friend, talk to somebody. You're not alone.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
is there anything you'd like to say to anybody out there before we close up?
Just reach out. Like, if you feel like you can't talk to somebody, just reach out. There is always going to be somebody there that's willing to talk to you and help you.
And if you could say anything to him.
I miss him a lot. And I just want him to know that he's loved and missed.
All right, well, with that, I'm not gonna do my normal closing. Like I said, it's a different video. It just hits different. I've dealt with a very similar situation on more than once. I've seen people lose their life right in front of me. I've seen people I care about, like, literally have their life snatched right out of their body, and it never leaves you. It leaves a scar that kind of bleeds. You know, it heals over time, but there's always like a small amount of blood left behind. So with all that being said, I love y'all, and until next time, y'all know what it is, man. Salute.